Hey, welcome to the conversation with Guns and Ammo. I'm Editor-in-Chief Eric Poole. We've got Jim Tarr, handgunning editor, who's actually tested the new Kimber 2K11. And we have Everett Deger of Kimber, who's going to go in and answer any of our questions. We're just going to have a good time talking about this gun. So, Jim, let's start out with you because you've had probably the most trigger time with this gun. What was the 2K11 like, and how is it different than any other 1911 out there?
Well, okay. Well, so we're going to be talking for an hour or two, or how much time do we have? Okay. Well, I'll tell you how much time I have behind the pattern. And if you see this here, this is not the Kimber 2K11, although it looks like it. This is my wide body 45 it's a Franken gun. It's got a Colt National Match slide, and it's got an SV modular lower, and I had it built up in the late 90s. And other than polymer as opposed to the aluminum in the 2K11, it's functionally identical. So 25 years, that's how much time I have behind the platform. And one of the things I just find it fascinating that wide body 1911s are now all the rage, and everybody's making them. And the 2K11 I was actually very, very impressed with, because I don't know if Kimber has a term for it, but I'll call it a factory custom gun. It's produced by a factory, but it looks and feels darn near like a custom gun. And they sent me the 45 to test, and it was I think the technical term is stupid accurate. It would do at 25 yards is with the ammo that it liked. The best groups were a hair under 2 inches, which that's all you can ask for. And it's offered in 45 and 9mm, and it should be a big hit because not only is the quality there, the price is very, very competitive with the other ones that are on the market.
Yes. And Everett, to that point, tell us a little bit about how Kimber treats the manufacturing of this pistol. And why did you decide to get into that double stack 2K11? Where did the idea come from, and where do you want it to go?
Sure. Well, Jim and Eric, thanks for having me on today. Kimber has long been known as probably the quintessential 1911 manufacturer in the industry. For over 45 years, the brand has been around. And what better way than this year to take the 1911 product and elevate it to the category that the consumers have been looking for quite some time. So the challenge with some of the market today is capacity. And when I say challenge, Kimber has built its reputation on very, very traditional platforms, the Micro 9, the 1911, the Evo. All these guns were considered a limited capacity by today's market. You've got 7-round capacity, 8 rounds in 9mm, 45 respectively, even 10mm, which is seeing a lot of a resurgence recently. So bringing to market the KDS 9C last year was really kind of our first step into a premium production alloy framed high capacity 1911. And the KDS 9C has done very, very well. It's primarily focused on the concealed carry market. You've got a 4-inch gun with a fully fluted and crowned barrel. As Jim was saying on our 2K11, it seems like a custom gun in a production factory. Well, that perfectly describes the Kimber brand for, almost all of this entire century, as you were getting all of the custom features that historically were found on gunsmith guns out of production products that you could buy on the counter. And the 2K11 really is the evolution of what is a very mature product line, the 1911s, with a higher capacity chassis. And the reason we got into that is obviously capacity has been king recently. And when we want to make sure that we're providing products that our consumers are really looking for, we answered the question of why not more ammo? And the reason is there is no problem. And now 2K11 is that answer.
So I'm going to interrupt you here a little bit, but we keep talking about capacity. We've got 2 calibers that this thing is being introduced in, 9mm, 45, very popular for each. What are going to be the capacity levels that we're looking at?
Well, you've got some of the flush fit 11 round magazines in 45. You have extended 13 round magazines in 45. And then there's also 19 and 21 round capacities for the 9 millimeter. If you're familiar with the higher capacity, the 2K11 style magazine, those were originally designed to house 40 Smith & Wesson and 45 auto, respectively. These were never really truly designed to be 9 millimeter magazines. And in doing so, just like anything, the firearms industry makes do with what they have and optimizes what's been out there to truly provide the best bang for the buck, all pun intended. And those capacities, to me, elevate not only the use of the historic caliber, but obviously in the 9 millimeter, which has become the most ubiquitous caliber available for handguns today, and really, really kind of defeats any concerns about capacity and Kimber being in the same sentence anymore.
Hey, Jim, so with these larger capacity 2K11s, you've got 9 and 45. Which one are you going to be competing with? 45s, you don't see a lot in IPSC, IDPA anymore. Am I safe to presume 9 millimeter will do better?
Yeah, 45. Well, in competition, capacity is generally always king when you're talking semi-auto pistols. Revolvers, not necessarily so much. And whether you're shooting a single stack or a double stack, you always want more rounds in the gun, and you can't really do that with 45. So when people are shooting major power factor these days, it's all 40 Smith & Wesson. And a lot of people have moved over to 9 millimeter just because increased capacity and lower recoil. And you sacrifice some points for anything other than center zone hits on the target. But people feel that the advantage of the increased capacity and the lower recoil more than makes up for that. So the 45 isn't really going to have a place in competition. However, there are still a large number of people who feel the 45 ACP is the personal defense handgun cartridge against which all others should be compared in regards to terminal performance. And I don't know that they're wrong. I used to be a true believer in the biblical knockdown power of the 45 ACP. And for those people wanting a duty gun or a home defense gun, not many people would be willing to carry a gun this big, although I'm sure Everett will talk to this, but provided that the 2K11 is a success, and I can't imagine that it won't be, I would imagine that they will look at smaller, more concealable versions down the road. But for a home defense gun, for duty, outside the waistband, whatever, there's no reason not to swap out your single stack 45 for a double stack 45 because the weight is pretty much the same. The only place you're really going to see any difference is not even in the width of the grip, just the proportions, because with a standard single stack, you've got the steel frame and then you have the grip panels bolted onto the sides of it. The construction of this is you have a grip module that's all one piece with built-in grip panels. So it is no wider than a standard 1911 with wood or polymer grips. It's just the profile is a little bit more rectangular as opposed to oval like you would get on a single stack 1911. So it's eminently carryable. If you're willing to carry a single stack 1911, there's no reason not to upgrade to something like the 2K11 and increase your magazine capacity by 50%.
So you mentioned the 45 for home defense, and really this is kind of where I see it. I love the 45 caliber cartridge. I'm a big ACP guy. And with this gun, you've got all that weight in your grip, but I attach a light, and that rail is long enough that I can put a light, say a Streamlight or a Surefire type light that can house 2 batteries, 2 CR123s, and really take advantage of up to say 1,000 lumen plus, a light that I can broadcast in that target area. And with a lot of shorter guns for home defense, I'm a little bit restricted on that power with those single CR123 batteries. So I really like that advantage. And when you add all that weight up, throw an optic on it, I've got something that doesn't recoil. And if you think back to shooting those single stack 45s, there's a little bit of that muzzle flip that you can get with it. Well, that all goes away with the 2K11, especially when it's set up with the light and an optic. I know you're laughing because you and I have a little bit of a difference of opinion there. Sorry, my guns have lights on them. I know yours don't necessarily.
Well, my home defense guns all have lights on them, but of course they're all ARs, so they have optic and lights. Because it's a home defense, so you lean it in the corner, and it doesn't matter how big it is or how big the magazine is. My question is to Everett. Are you expecting to sell more 45s of these than 9mm? Because I know 9mm are all the new hot rage, but I mean it's a 1911, and your Kimber 45 was the standard cartridge for so long that there are some people that won't even look at a 1911 or a 2K11 in anything other than God's caliber.
Well, sure, Jim. I mean, I don't believe that we're going to sell more 45s than we do 9mm. Again, the market really is preferable to a 9mm just based on the recoil impulse. But it would be in poor taste to ignore our core customer who has long really appreciated the 45 auto. There isn't anything to say that in the future there couldn't be other calibers available. But right now, we believe that between the 9mm, which will probably occupy, I'd say, between 65 and 70, maybe even 70% of the market, and then the rest of that will go over to 45, just based on what we've seen with some of our historic sales.
Now, Everett, one of the things I'm a big fan of is the finishes that I think it's part of that quality that a lot of people experience at the gun counter. You pick up a Kimber versus another 1911, and there's a sense of higher value and elitism that kind of comes with that, with the Kim Pro finishes and stuff. But there's another version besides the one that Jim and I have shot that you guys are coming out with. It's a Target model, and it's got a little bit of a different look. But tell us a little bit about what that Target version of this that you're introducing, what's it look like, what's it got, how's it distinctive?
You bet. Well, first of all, Kimber is not really known for products that are going fast. And this is a little bit of a departure from what the brand has done historically. If you go back to the Kimber rifles from Kimber of Oregon, and even some of the first 1911s and the more prominent CDPs and the SIS pistols from the LAPD, a lot of the customized features really stood out. I mean, you took your friends and brought them over to your house and showed them your firearm safe, and you pulled out the Kimber as a source of pride. And we still believe that that's the case today. And in doing so, we didn't want to ignore the race gun attributes of the 2K11. So you see in both models, you see a Type 3 hard anodized alloy grip module, and then you see a really tremendous rose copper coated slide, and also a ported slide. So those combined finishes with a stand-chen custom race magwell really define a competitive and target model, if you will, that separates the 9mm from kind of the standard 9mm and even the 45. So we really wanted to make sure that in the firearms case and then out on the range when you're competing with these models, that they stand out and are a sense of pride for the person who's pulling the trigger.
I would like to, I'm going to hold my hand up and file an objection because, you say Kimber's not necessarily known for going fast. I'm old enough that when I got into competition shooting, it was single stack 1911s, and your choice was Colt and then everybody else. And I've got a dog visiting me here. And when it came to everybody else, nobody was really necessarily offering the 1911s that people wanted right out of the box. They had to buy a factory stock GI style 1911 and then hand it to a gunsmith along with a bunch of cash to get them the gun that they wanted. And Kimber came onto the scene and started giving people factory 1911s with all of the upgrades that before you had to pay gunsmiths to give you. Beaver tail grip safeties, extended thumb safeties, extended triggers, decent trigger pulls. And so a lot of people were taking those Kimbers and actually running with them, running them hard at USPSA matches. This was even before IDPA existed. And it was Kimber's success in the 1911 field, sucking business away from everybody, including Colt, that made a lot of other gun companies all of a sudden start offering the guns that people truly wanted, that were upgraded for shootability. And so, I know that wasn't necessarily their goal, but that was the end result. So this is almost like a old home week for Kimber, because they're actually coming out with something that a lot of people will gravitate toward competition for the first time in a while. But that's almost how they jumped into the 1911 scene, was by basically doing the same thing, only with single stacks back in the day.
You bet, Jim. I mean, and the foundation of the business really was a partnership with Chip McCormick at the time, who was renowned for his competitive nature. And by reintroducing the brand to a competitive world, it's not as though, to your point, we've kind of stepped away. We've been hibernating for quite a long time. But with the younger and the more engaged demographic of youth nowadays that want to compete at a higher level and are not just interested in traditional, we'll call it national match bullseye shooting. They want to compete at a very high level and a very fast level. So one of the other attributes of the 2K11 is that the slide to frame, fit, and finish is incredibly smooth. The disconnector, there is a ramp within the slide that helps ease the overall over travel of the disconnector. So functioning the gun is incredibly easy. Not to mention the factory trigger weight for this gun out of the box is 3.5 pounds. And I don't believe that there's any firearm in the market right now that offers a competitive gun that is ready to go, that'll allow you to open up the box at the range, drop it into the qualification box for IDPA or USPSA, and compete in the same day.
So you guys are making some great points on features, and let me call out a few of those here. I'm looking at it. You've got a bilateral or ambidextrous, whatever you want to call it, thumb safety lever. You've got that skeletonized combat hammer, if you will, beaver tail grip safety, and I'm also seeing that 11-degree crowned barrel that's flush to the slide, a really nice, tasteful aesthetic. Fiber optic front, and you've got the optic mounting capability and the external extractor with the flared and ejection port with a bullet nose relief, very subtle bullet nose relief detail there. And another one of my favorite details is that high grip undercut at the back of the trigger guard. Really, with the high grip undercut paired with that beaver tail grip safety, you can really choke up on this gun and prevent that muzzle from really taking over control of your pistol, so you can keep the red dot in your optic if you have a red dot mounted. But Everett, in terms of red dots, a lot of people are going to be wanting to put a red dot optic on here. What will this pistol accept, and how are you guys accommodating all the various footprints that exist out there?
Eric, yeah, absolutely. And we've tried to make sure that we address all of the concerns that the consumers are looking for when it comes to high performance, high capacity 1911. So as you mentioned, the external extractor enhances reliability versus the traditional internal extractor. One of the things that we haven't touched on is that we have a toolless guide rod for ease of disassembly for cleaning when you're done with matches. Not only that, we've tapered the internal dimensions for the magazine well, so that you control any loose attributes that are kind of inherently problematic with high capacity 2011 style magazines. So overall, we've really looked to make sure that the products that we're producing solve the consumer's problems. And when it comes to optics, we're focusing primarily on two of the real heavy hitters out there, Trijicon and Holosun, which end up occupying the bulk of the market, from your enclosed emitters to the SROs and RMRs and even the Holosun K footprints, so that folks have a variety of either cost-conscious or more tactically oriented brands.
Well, and we evaluated it with the Trijicon SRO. Love that. And I actually like testing it with SROs because the bottom of the hood of the SRO generally extends a little bit over the top of the ejection port. And with some guns, it can introduce some feeding issues. However, this gun, no issue at all. We're able to run tons of 45 ACP through there. I didn't have any interference or jams. No brass cases, fell right back into the chamber. So, kudos to Kimber on that. That's a really nice detail. And one thing I don't want to overlook either are the tactile touch points. You've got a great texture around the grip. And, it's amazing that someone didn't hand file cut the checkering that it simulates on there. And you've got great and stylistic but functional serrations at the front and rear of the slide that contrast the smooth surface of the polished slabs.
Well, and Eric, I mean, we wanted to take what Kimber has been known for, which is a really noticeable aesthetic for firearms, and take it one step further. And we did that with the front and rear slide serrations. As you said, it's a very unique design that belongs to our director of product development. He came up with it himself. You see a lot of folks who are doing press checks with the front web of their hands forward of the ejection port. You also have traditionalists that'll come over the top. You have the younger set that'll just slap the front of the optic. And we tried to be cognizant of all those pieces, especially when building this. You'll notice, like you said, with the deep crown on the barrel, there's no traditional barrel lug that has to be turned in order to work with this. A lot of that was designed on the overall fit and finish as well. We really wanted to make sure that when it came to the overall best value that Kimber has been known for. You have folks that say, "Oh, well, Kimber's a little bit more high-end price." Well, you get everything that you pay for with it with this particular model. The magwell and the fluted and ported slide on the target model. You'll also have an adjustable Bomar type rear optic mounting plate that goes with the target model if you don't want to mount an optic on there for iron sight fans. And there's just so many things that we baked into the final product to make sure that it's tailor-made to compete right out of the gate.
Well, I would like to, because I'm the iron sight guy, I'd like to bring the attention to this base model. The base model is not very base. It's got a solid plain black rear sight, and the front sight though, it's dovetailed into place and it ships from the factory with a green fiber optic insert. But this is it's from TAG Precision. You guys ship it with a number of different fiber optic inserts. You've got the green, you've got an orange, a red, or you can, if you don't like fiber optic and you're just going to be running the red dot and you don't want a different color in the front sight to distract you, you can replace the fiber optic with something black. And it's interesting, they are removed in and out with a screw on the front of the front sight, which I've never seen before, and I thought that was really fascinating. But I love the fact that you guys sell this gun with all of that included just in the base model, which is a really nice upgrade.
Well, and the folks over at Tag Precision Sights, the reason that we went with them, if you are a competitive shooter or if you're just a fan of fiber optic in general, you understand that inherently fiber optics are a failure point. When it comes to some of the traditional styles, even some of the ones that we offer on some of our other models, you have to heat the ends and then they're balled up to make sure that they fit within that small chamber. The folks over at Tag Precision did a really, really great job because they have a set screw that allows you to kind of stake the fiber optic, if you will, in that front sight, and it delivers a tremendous amount of increase in reliability. I mean, we have thousands of rounds through testing on some of those sites before that fiber optic starts to work itself loose or break. So when it comes to, several hundred rounds or just shy of 1,000 rounds with kind of your traditional fiber optics, which are kind of unpredictable, Tag was the natural evolution to say, hey, look, we want to partner with the guys who take this to the next level. And on that same token, you heard me talk about Stan Chen. in his magwell. The collaboration with Stan Chen was really kind of critical for me when it came to elevating the Kimber brand. Stan is known in the 1911 market as the premium hand-finished, hand-polished, customized parts manufacturer in the market today. Between tag, especially Stan Chen, and then even polishing it off with C&H optic mounting plates, it's so far outside of the box from what Kimber has done traditionally, which is really partner with no one. So we really wanted to make sure that the consumers are aware that we are changing the way that we're bringing products to market. The 2K11 is an incredibly collaborative firearm that we spared no time and expense making sure that we reached out to all the key players who really, really do it right to make sure that we got their feedback as well.
I know C&H mounting plates are considered the best in the business. When I was at Gunsight, last time I was at Gunsight, that is their preferred mounting plate at the Gunsight Gunsmithy. So considering they're about up here when it comes to experience, that should tell people that you're getting the best option with this gun that is out there. And it's pretty impressive considering that I got this gun and I had this gun for a while, long before I ever knew how much it was going to cost. So I was trying to decide whether or not it was worth it, but I didn't know how much it was going to cost. And I thought, hey, if this gun's $25.99, $28.99, then it's a good deal. And then it turns out that it is not that expensive, which means it's a great deal for what you get.
You bet. And the base model, as you were saying, the street price on the standard model in 9 or 45, we want to be an MSRP. It's going to be under $2,000, and then the competitive model with optic installed would be north of 24 or 25, but then with the plate would be north of 2,200. So you're seeing competitive guns out there in that class without the magwell, without 3 magazines. Oh, and the competitive model comes with different weights of spring. So if you aren't happy with the particular weight of spring that comes in the gun, you can swap that out based on your desired preference of spring tension. So we tried to, and it also comes with an optic mounting plate as well. So we heard the complaints of, Kimber needs to ship it with more than 1 magazine. Done, you get 3 magazines. Kimber doesn't have the optic mounting plate. I have to go out and buy it. Done, it's included. So we really wanted to make sure that there are no barriers to entry, and people are seeing that this is not the traditional Kimber that you've seen, but this is a Kimber that hangs on to all the great attributes of the cosmetic updates and the reliability that you've seen, but also stepping into a new generation that's embracing the consumer.
If you can figure out how to ship it with a case of ammo, people would like that too, considering the price of ammo these days.
Can't do it all. I do know some ammo guys, though. You guys know that. No.
I tell you what, Kimber has really bridged a gap that maybe some people can't see, but given what a fully hand-built Stan Chen pistol with an optic attached would cost you versus something unreliable that's a lot more affordable out there. This is really in a nice spot with the backing of a Kimber warranty and all the feature set. And I'm really excited to see what becomes of the 2K11 and with the modularity of that lower frame. I see there's so much potential for personalization, customization to come, and perhaps some comped versions in the future. I mean, I'm just speculating. I don't have any inside information, but this thing could be a lot of fun. And just let me thank you for coming on and talking a little bit about the 2K11. I can't wait to see how the market receives it. And thank you, Jim, for joining us and bringing your experience on the firing line and all of that. It's been a lot of fun talking with all 3 of you guys, and let's do it again at the next launch.
Eric, Jim, absolutely. Thanks for your time today. And be sure, if you haven't got some trigger time, let me know, and we'll get one of those 2K11s in your hand, okay?
Excellent.
All right. Thanks, Everett.
You bet, guys. Take it easy.